and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you.
Good morning.
Good timing, Lisa. We call to order our Jefferson County Local Development Corporation
Recording in progress.
monthly board meeting, April 2nd, 2026. Do we have privilege of the floor? We have one guest. Anything to say now or not?
Anytime Marshall's ready.
We have you on the schedule for a little bit later in the
That's
program.
fine.
So that's fine. That's the very end. Perfect. So barring that, we'll go to the minutes on page 3, if they've been received and reviewed, and if so, a motion to accept them as presented.
Someone with Rob.
Rob's first.
Second. Don?
Don's the second. Any other discussion, questions, modifications? Barring that, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? Motion carries. Treasurer's report, page 6 through 8.
Well, as we look at our new dashboard, it's a lot of information all really close together. You'll see we've had no loan applications for the LDC. We have 2 ARPA distributions this year. And good news is for the COVID receivables, Painful Acres has paid off completely. And other than busted grapes, they're only 30 days in arrears. Everyone else appears to be current. Is that correct, Karina?
No.
So that's about it. On the right-hand side, you'll see the balances and the year-to-date numbers. So our revenues, we're still going to be a little bit, I'm thinking of the report. So everything else looks okay with what is expected so far. And if there's any questions, they can go to Dorina today. It's a little hard to read this on the computer screen sometimes by the time you blow it up, so that's my only comment. It's better on my tablet than it is on my desktop, so. If there's no other questions, I'd move the treasurer's
Okay,
report.
do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or questions?
I'll just make a comment,
Go ahead.
going back to, at times, reviewing some of our delinquent loans, Painful Acres was one that kind of didn't look good at all.
Yeah.
And, here we are, got closed out and everybody's made whole.
Well, that's the COVID
It's
loans,
just the code.
Right.
but they also have one under the
That's true,
IDA.
too. I've got that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm leaving, and I have to leave for
You said
doctor's appointment 9. If you wanted, we could look at the other report, and then you could just do it, or do you think we'll be to that by 9?
I don't think we're going to be.
Okay.
If
Whatever you choose.
If we get past 8:20, we'll have you review the other
Okay.
one. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay, you got 5 minutes today. That's it.
No,
4.5.
he's already passed out his report.
That's what I was gonna say. You have my report.
No, everybody take the time to use it. So we have first, second, any other questions, discussion? Barring any, all in favor of the treasurer's report?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? That carries. Council reports. Jay, you're first.
Can I make one quick
Go
comment
ahead.
before, because just because of with Paul leaving, and I know Bob, probably 15, 20 minutes. I just want to make sure that we give Bob all the time that he
Yes.
needs. So maybe depending, you don't care, where you go on the thing. So I just wanted to throw that out there just to make sure that everybody's.
Okay. But you can stay until 9, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd probably
I
still be
think
okay.
I think we could.
We're gonna power through this.
You could, whoever has
Power
part of
through it.
DRC can stay and talk. And that'll probably still be 8:45. Jay, not skipping over you, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, you have my report. I sent it out to you ahead of time. Pretty self-explanatory. The ag conference is the only thing I'll comment on unless somebody has questions. I would love to hear feedback from those of you that attended. Again, want to say thank you to Jefferson County for sponsoring it. You made life easy this year, which was very appreciated. The feedback we have been getting from the conference has been phenomenal. It's one of the best conferences we've held. The commissioner, it was great to have the commissioner as a kickoff speaker, and I have a meeting with him at 11:30 to continue discussions that went on behind the scenes. So
Perfect.
Don't skip over the good stuff.
I can't. I have to skip over some of
25 years.
it. Oh well,
That's a
thank
big
you.
deal.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Senator Walczyk presented to Bill, and that was
Yeah, it was. I did not know the senator was going to do that, so it was a little bit of a surprise. But yes,
Yeah.
This is the 25th anniversary of our Ag Economic Development Program, the 23rd year that we've had ag conferences. So, been doing this a little while now.
Wonderful job.
Yeah.
That was
Great team effort. That's it for me.
Any questions? How about anyone here that attended any?
I missed the afternoon session. I thought the economist was excellent, Jay.
yes.
I noticed there, he has a little different ag multipliers that are a little more realistic than we've seen in the past, but he defended them well.
Yeah.
Do you get feedback from the crowd? Like, I don't want to say speaker grades, but like that's what comes to mind for me to explain it. I've been to conferences where you have to rate
Yeah.
the content. You don't
From time to
you don't
time.
get into that.
Yeah. From time to time, I'll do a start, stop, continue type survey.
Okay.
But in this case, I'm not going to.
Okay.
The feedback that I was getting while it was happening was very good. Question for those that stayed to the end, the town hall discussion. What did you think of that? Was anybody there until the?
I was there till the end. Yeah.
inspector.
I thought it was good. I really liked how the speakers tied together. So you got the economist, then you got in practice, AI. So the technology in part of it was great. The town hall gave everybody an opportunity to ask questions. So that was, I thought the entire program was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I kind of, so I was telling Jen I had to find him an inspector, so I had to get out of there. That's true. But I wanted to stay for that, but I wish we had like recorded that. That would have been interesting to go back and, because I certainly think it was a really interesting topic and curious what different perspectives.
There were times when we did record those, but the expense just for the quality of the recording, I ended up the last one especially that I recorded, the quality was so poor.
Yeah.
And that I ended up doing a lot of apologizing for an otherwise fantastic conference. And I said,
Yeah, I was
Not
thinking
gonna do that
selfishly,
again.
just myself, but it's my
Yeah.
fault. But I thought it was great. Yeah, did a great job. Richard Ball was, all the speakers I thought were,
Yeah.
and it's hard to talk as an economist. It's hard to speak to that and not get bored. But man, that guy's energy.
Yeah.
He does a good job with it.
Yeah,
Great. Thanks to our county and our county ag coordinator for putting on a fantastic sponsoring and putting on a
Team up.
fantastic event. So,
Thanks.
Raises the bar for next year, you know.
You just
That's
keep
been a tough
raising the
one.
bar though. Where that comes.
We gotta hold the bar steady.
Yeah, that was a good one.
manufacturing and marketing,
Um,
whatever order or if in order.
I'm going to sort of combine them a little bit. I want to talk briefly about our upcoming Manufacturers Alliance program that we have at Zero Dock in Carthage on the 29th of April, I believe. But we have it's going to be based on workforce, and there's always an opportunity for the manufacturers to kind of discuss issues that they're having and things like that. And obviously, workforce is a big issue. One item of note is we have some speakers coming up from MACNY, which is the Central New York Manufacturers Association, with Manufacturers Association of Central New York, MACNY. Bob, that may be something that you'd be interested in attending. They're always pretty well received. We always have a great program there, good attendance, and it's one of these programs where you learn something new every time. And I did want to just sort of mention about that program that's coming up, and also about I've had a number of discussions with Metalcraft recently. They did touch on it a little bit at our retreat about the success that they're having and some new opportunities that they're having, and how psyched they are about being in the corporate park, especially at their new manufacturing site there that they were able to get through with all of the environmentals and all of that tricky stuff. And so it was just a good thing. It's also nice to hear that the quality of the soil is pretty good around the corporate park these days. So that's just a positive thing. And wanted to mention that. On the marketing side, not a whole lot has changed over the last month. We did a couple of things that we always do with our visitor guides. That again, those are no real change there, but we like to stay in the on the offerings there on those visitor guides, because they do, it's one of the few things that actually get printed out, and it's an opportunity for people to sort of flip through and look through and print marketing, which is kind of does feel like it's going a little bit by the wayside, but then for these things they're good, just like the palm cards coming off from the bridge and things like that. And when I would talk to Corey, he would always say how they seem to be going away, but those are things that people actually would stop in looking for. So it's kind of interesting. Just want to mention that.
Marshall, one observation I had is going to it last year.
Mhm.
It seemed to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to be like 4 to 6 manufacturing concerns.
Okay.
Core group kind of
There is
really putting it together, and I expected to see
20 different
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
You know what? I can't remember the specifics of that one. But sometimes they're a little bit more well attended. And at that time we were doing more of them. And we're now at more of like a biannually deal. And it does kind of lose it a little bit if you go quarterly on some of these things, considering how much, especially in Lewis County, how much the programs that they're doing. I can see that. But we are expecting a good attendance for this one. Our the one that we had, that was focused on regulatory issues. That one was, and we had the political folks there, and that was a really good program. That gave people a real opportunity to, let their voice be heard on some of these regulatory things. So I'm gonna just mute.
We'll
right
mute you,
there.
Greg.
Thanks. Thanks. What did he say? We'll be there.
He was talking.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say that he said that we're going to be there. So, good program. Thank you.
Marsh, can you send out some information on that and some invites and things so we know, if I can make it, I would.
Sure.
So,
On page 11, Robin's not here, but the answer's in the bottom right corner, ARPA. So we have 217,000 uncommitted. There's probably a story behind that, but that's the answer.
Yeah.
There's constant ebb and flow with this. There are balance of grant not dispersed is 538,000, which, if those have already been awarded, that's the ceiling. Maybe 5% of that won't be dispersed because of project costs or whatever. So the 217 could potentially grow.
Yeah.
It won't shrink.
Yeah. It won't shrink. And we are
Barring other new applications.
Yes. Yep. There we are.
So I mean, that's my quick summation of it. I don't know if there's stories behind some of this that you want to.
Nothing really. No, not right now. Actually.
Perfect. Usually nothing from council. So Justin, if you don't speak, we'll assume that's an affirmation. And new business, we can move on to Bob's got a presentation for us. To North Central Small Business Development Center, Mr. Robert Griffin.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. And by the way, Marshall, anytime there's any of these events or activities, please keep us in the loop.
Yeah.
I've got one for everybody. So Small Business Development Center has been around a bit. But we've gone through kind of a lot of change and transition. And so I'm taking the opportunities where possible to update folks on what small business development centers are doing, how we're changing, transitioning, meeting the moment, and particularly here in the North Country. My name is Bob Griffin. I'm the Regional Director of North Central Small Business Development Center. I'm also the Director of Strategic Growth Services for the New York SBDC, which I'll get into in a moment.
Yeah, if you click on the right click, it'll go to the next one.
I did
Maybe
read
it should be on the, or just tell me and I'll do it. I don't know if it needs to be on that ground.
Probably, it might need to be. That's perfect. All right, so we'll go to the next slide if we could. So, I like to tell stories. We can go to the next one. Thank you. About our clients.
The space bar,
Space bar.
well,
Now
outside of
I
that,
gotta get that out of there, get the QR code gone.
This is fun.
Yeah,
Isn't technology fantastic?
It's user error.
life like, left click.
what am I?
Just click anywhere else on the,
There we
There we
go.
go. And
and
then
then
space
choose the
bar.
space bar, it'll.
That's it.
Okay.
So I would just move that mouse up just a
Or
little
page
bit.
up and page down is the old
There we go.
style.
So I do want to go to the prior one. So may I?
You please do. I absolutely insist.
Here we
There
go.
you go.
Excellent. All right. Fantastic. This is Renee Patty. And Renee came to us probably about 3 years ago, and she specializes in dog training, particularly Labradors, particularly hunting dogs. And, for those of you not aware, that's actually pretty intense. There's a lot of work that needs to go into it, a lot of knowledge and expertise that has to go into it. And she's fantastic at it. She has customers all over the world that are getting her Labradors, and they're using them as hunting dogs. She's also been dabbling a little bit in detection dogs, which is also interesting. And she does dog board. And she came to us seeking a line of credit and a small loan to be able to expand her facility. She had to build a new building to be able to accommodate the growth that she was experiencing. And so we recognized her last year as our Jefferson County Small Business of the Year award. Now, here's the thing about this. This is not flashy. It's not big headlines. It's not 500 employees. It's a great lady with a small family who created a business out of nothing and is providing something valuable to people that need it and want it. If we could. This is Matt Pearson. This is Michelle Barron. She's was a business advisor with us. That's Sonia Smith. She's our New York State SBDC director. That's me. And Matt came to us about 10 years ago. He'd been grinding coffee in his basement. And he just loved coffee. And so his parents were like, hey, you should start, a coffee roasting business. And so we hooked him up with a mentor out of the Cortland area that basically set up these little coffee cart kiosk things around Cortland to suit the needs of the student population. And so he tried to recreate that in Auburn and successfully opened his first one. Then he successfully opened his second one. Then he opened up something called Roast and Toast in downtown Auburn, where he's featuring his coffee and offering up bagel sandwiches and breakfast breads and things like that. And the people of Auburn love it, and they're absolutely devoted to him. The coffee market, by the way, is crazy competitive. And it's a tough business right now because thank you tariffs, the price of coffee's gone up, but he's making it work. He was recognized by the U.S. Small Business Administration as the Rural Small Business of the Year last year. Next slide, please. This is Logan Curtis. Anybody know Logan? He's a surgeon here. You know Logan. So, dental surgeon here in Jefferson County, formerly on post, decided he and his family wanted to stay here in Jefferson County and start a dental surgical business, an implant business. He started with 2 employees and a small SBA loan to open up in 2019. We worked with him going through this expansion that he's gone through. He's got a beautiful new building that he just opened up. He's now got 20 employees. He's adding another doctor that's going to be doing advanced surgical procedures, and he's looking to expand into other markets. All of this with the work of us here at SBDC and the SBA. And then he got the New York State Veteran Small Business of the Year Award last year as well. Now, why do I tell stories? I tell stories because they matter. I tell stories because these people matter. I tell stories because they illustrate the breadth and depth of some of the work that we're doing out there in the communities that we serve. Next slide, please. What do? We We provide no-cost confidential advisement to existing and aspiring entrepreneurs at every stage of the business life cycle, whether they're just getting going, I got an idea, or whether they've been at this 20 or 30 years and they're looking at expansion opportunities, growth opportunities, transition opportunities. The way I really like to sum up what we do, we help people make informed decisions and take informed action. We don't do the work for them. That's not what we do. We provide them tools, resources, guidance, information, and help them along their journey. 80% of the clients we see have no business starting a business. I have never, in my 8 years of doing this, told anybody they have a crackpot idea. I thought it, but I've never told anybody that. We provide them the information so they figure it out on their own, so that they come to understand, okay, this isn't the right market. I don't have enough capital. I don't have the credit I need. I don't have the expertise that I need to operate in this space. Whatever it is, we just provide the information and they figure it out on their own. The rest, maybe they launch, maybe they expand, maybe they grow, maybe they add employees. In either case, we are at our core educators and trainers who provide information. Slide, please. So a little bit about kind of how it works, because it really is a wonky model. So U.S. Small Business Administration created SBDCs in the early 80s. They tested out in California. They officially launched the program in 1984 as a national initiative. It was built on kind of the premise of case management that had been popularized by SCORE, which had been developed during the Eisenhower administration, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. SBDC was more institutional. It was based at institutes of higher education. So SBA has this grant program. They're applied for by the states. In New York State, it is an application from the SUNY Research Foundation out of Albany. So they host a New York State SBDC central office that's funded by this grant, along with some state money through SUNY. Those funds are then redistributed to institutes of higher education in the form of a subaward. Our subawardee is Onondaga Community College in Syracuse. But we have a partner agreement with Jefferson Community College that allows us to continue hosting an SBDC outreach office in Jefferson County, as well as provide services to Lewis County. It's the most unique relationship of any of the SBDCs in New York State and probably in the Eastern United States, where you have two community colleges collaborating together to continue providing small business technical assistance in a community. And very happy to have it. Dr. Doobie's been wonderful. Sid Pond over there is on our advisory board. And Dr. Doobie and Dr. Hilton at Onondaga Community College have a great working relationship. And along with New York State, they're the ones that kind of set this arrangement up so that we can provide services up here in the region. As many of you may be aware, we did have a regional center that was based here in Watertown at Jefferson Community College. But the decision was made that it was better for the organization, better financially, better for us structurally to consolidate operations and cover a larger territory with our headquarters in Syracuse. And basically what it did was it gave us bench strength. Instead of having 3 or 4 business advisors up here, now this region has 8. And we're able to deliver a lot of expertise, and I'll talk about the team here in a minute. Other things about the Small Business Development Center, we have a group out of Albany called Research Central. All they do is research for our clients. And they've done presentations with classes and helped them with projects at Jefferson Community College. And maybe SUNY Kent, is that coming?
Yeah, that's coming.
That's coming. But they have an immense access to databases, tools, resources where they can do some impressive research for our clients. Again, informed decision, informed action. That's what we're trying to help with. And they also have access to things like industry reports, case studies, sample marketing plans, sample business plans, financial norms. You name it, they can usually find something that will help those entrepreneurs in some form or fashion. We also have EntreSkills, which is an online self-paced educational platform hosted by the New York SBDC. This is particularly useful for folks who are going through the self-employment assistance program with the Department of Labor. That program provides unemployment benefits while people are starting businesses. They have to go through a process of getting approval for that, and then they also have to have an educational component this online component helps present that option to them. We have a government procurement center out of our Mohawk Valley Small Business Development Center. It's a statewide resource, so anybody looking into government contracting can work with our specialist out of that center to deal with the complexity of things like sam.gov, developing capability statements, things of that nature. Shaking of heads, exactly. It's a headache, but she's a real pro at it, and we leverage her as a resource for a number of our clients. We have a technology center out of our Bennington University Small Business Development Center. They specialize in SBIR and STTR applications with Department of War. And we have other specialty programs across the state, one of which I'll talk about shortly. Thank you. This is where we live. These are kind of where we specialize in. We emphasize research, knowledge, making informed decisions. So we do a lot in the market space and the industry space, helping people understand, is the product or service they're looking to offer appropriate? Are they pricing it right? Do they have the expertise that they really need to be able to execute? What's happening from a macroeconomic perspective? And then we get a lot into the financials. So people kind of know us as, hey, I'm going to send you to the SBDC, they can help you with the business plan. That's not what I coach my advisors on. What I coach my advisors on is the model financially viable first? Why write a business plan for a financial model that isn't going to function? So we start with, what are the operating costs you're going to have to keep this thing going? What are the startup costs that you have to get going in the first place? And how much money do you have to generate every month to cover all those operational costs? And oh, by the way, pay back the debt you're going to need. That's where we start. And then if we've got a good financial model that's viable, then we move into developing a business plan with the client. So we spend a lot of time in the financial space. Our 360 financial reviews are intended for existing businesses. So businesses who've been at it for 3 years or more, where we want to kind of compare against industry norms. How are they doing? Where are there opportunities for improvement? Are their labor costs too high? The COGS too high? Is there opportunities to manage other operating expenses that improve profitability? And where are those opportunities? What's the plan? How do we address those things? So we do a lot in that space. And then we do a lot in the startup space, of course. I mean, we've been known kind of as the startup factory for a long time. I think that's a bit unfair, but that's kind of the moniker we got. And it was earned, like we earned that. We specialize in business plans. We specialize in lender readiness, developing regulatory compliance plans for people as they're starting their business to make sure that they're able to work in the space. And then we do all this other stuff too. I'm not going to read through this or go through all of these items, and Marshall has a copy of the presentation, and feel free to share it with anybody who'd like a copy of it. Anything related to small business, we have the capacity to be able to talk about in some form or fashion. What's cool about the New York SBDC from a broader New York State perspective is I don't have to have the expertise natively to my center. Somebody contacts us and says, hey, I want to start an underwater basket weaving business. I could probably reach out to somebody in the network and say, hey, does anybody have any experience working with somebody who wants to start an underwater basket weaving business? I'm going to find somebody, and they're going to be able to co-advise and co-counsel. The client still has a local resource and a local contact, but we can tap into that expertise to be able to provide some context, additional industry guidance that we may not have out of our center. So this is our team. It's my ragtag bunch, but they're fantastic human beings and they love what they do. So here specifically in Jefferson County and Lewis County, Deb Wilson, Joe Peters, and Mike Falvo are the core advisors. They're based out of our Nest location, which again provided for us by Jefferson Community College. I'm very gracious with that space. And we have an outreach office that we periodically will visit out in Lewis County to be able to provide in-person services as well. We do a lot of virtual advising, a lot of phone advising. And what's cool is, so Deb has a background in HR and bookkeeping. So anybody who has an HR question usually ends up talking to Deb at some point. Joe, veteran, had been here on post at Fort Drum for many years, decided he liked it here, wants to stay here with his family, came to us as a business advisor, has a background in credit counseling. And it's very useful for people who are looking to acquire debt for a business. Mike Valvo was an interior designer, ran his own interior design business for 30 plus years, just looking for something to do. But he's fantastic with clients that are particularly in the arts and creative space, and has a very good way of working with those folks. It's about 250 years of business experience, by the way, on that group. So this is the territory we cover. So my car and I are really good friends. When I started in March of 22 as the director of the Syracuse office, this was my territory. And we share services with our Mohawk Valley Center for Madison County. And we share Cortland County with Binghamton University's Small Business Development Center. In summer of 2023, when the decision was made by the New York SBDC and Jefferson Community College to shut down the regional center out of Watertown, they asked me to take over operational management of it and basically establish an outreach center as an extension of our Syracuse office. And I think by doing so, we actually made our center stronger across the board by the depth that we were able to bring. So it is the third largest geographic SBDC territory in the state of New York. We are also the second busiest center in the New York SBDC network. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So I am not the brightest guy in the box, brightest bulb in the box. There's a lot of smart people. So I asked them for advice, counsel, and support, because while I know what I know, these folks are on the ground and they're out in their communities. We put together an advisory board in the fall of 2023. It includes economic development professionals from across our region, bankers, small business owners, community members. We meet on a quarterly basis, and they really have helped us reimagine where we are going as a technical assistance resource on a regional basis. And so a lot of it had to do with, once we absorbed the Watertown Center, we began thinking programmatically. We also thought about branding and positioning. We took on the name change of North Central SBDC. That was an advisory board decision. We adjusted some programming and service models to be able to provide in-person service with MOUs with many of our county agencies and organizations that we have that ensure our service delivery. And also, we're very strategic about our rural outreach program in particular, something that we were not very good at pre-2022. We really have emphasized presence, partnership, relationship in our rural communities. Next slide. We've been at this a while, and we've been terrible about telling our story. But when you think about it, over $700 million of economic investment by our clients in their businesses since 1984. That's real money. That's a big number. And by the way, this doesn't include anything that we've done in the last year. This is basically through summer of last year. So $700 million of economic investment, 4,500 new business starts, over 450,000 counseling hours. That's substantive work that has been done by a Small Business Development Center just in our 8 counties since 1984. I'm not meaning to be hyperbolic. The Small Business Development Center is the single most successful entrepreneurial development program in the history of the world. It's not even close. No country has ever deployed a resource like this across all 50 states in the manner that the United States has through the SBDC program. And the impact speaks for itself. So it's always fun to kind of look at what's the heat map. I actually have this broken down by zip code, but it kind of is hard to parse out. So as one would expect, Onondaga County kind of is the center of the universe of all the activity right now. So we see typically 750 to 900 clients a year out of Onondaga County. No surprise there. Here's the surprise. The number one zip code for clients served in my entire region is right here. Why? Because nobody else is doing the kind of work that we are doing that is freely accessible to people in Watertown. Service Corps of Retired Executives hasn't had a steady presence up here in a very long time. The Wise Women's Business Center, which is a very close partner that we work with, and we do a lot of work, they just don't have the capacity to be as present up here as we are. We have a fully staffed outreach center. And as a result of that, We are readily accessible and available to people in Jefferson and Lewis County in a way that other technical assistance providers are not. And New York State doesn't have an entrepreneurial assistance center here. And they generally see only about 1/10 the number of clients that we see in a given year anyway. So number one zip code is right here. We have tripled our performance in Lewis County in the last 3 years. We were typically doing 10 to 15 clients a year, maybe 20 clients a year. It varied, but now we're doing well over 60 every single year in Lewis County as a result of the fact that we are present and available in a way that we weren't before. I'll just kind of flow through these just real quick. The SBA, by the way, they do have a rule book I gotta follow. They change the rules every now and again, so they changed the definition of a client. And they they used to have a definition that said if you provided substantive counseling, which you can drive a Mack truck through that definition, you counted them as a client. Now they put a time limit on it, so you gotta meet with them for at least 30 minutes in person or over the phone in order to be able to count them as a client. So as a result, our client serve number dropped, but it's deceiving because we actually had more inquiries and more conversations with prospective clients that couldn't be counted as clients. Thank you, SBA. But typically we are about the 20 million mark every single year in economic investment. That's loans, grants, family, friends, other investment into business enterprises that are being made by the clients that we work with. Next slide, please. So this was exciting. So we've been working with some money from Schumer and Gillibrand that we received through Center State CEO in early 2025. That grant was intended for developing resources for supply chain. Again, another definition you can drive a Mack truck through. And it was $100,000. Sounds like a big number. It's really not a lot of money when you're thinking about trying to, what do you do with that? Do you hire somebody for a year? What we instead did was we went back to Center State, Schumer and Gillibrand, and we said, listen, we need to be thoughtful about this. One of the things New York State is great at is the startup ecosystem. The other thing New York State is great at is going after the big headline businesses, the big projects, the stuff that has the big investment. Businesses between 800,000 and 10 million, forget about it. We don't have anything structured and organized across the state of New York that is really intentional in terms of technical assistance for businesses that are looking to scale. So we studied a model out of Michigan. Michigan SBDC has a program called Focus Forward. They didn't charge me for it. They said, here you go. It is a structured, intentional advisement program for businesses that are looking to grow who don't know how to grow. And they've been doing it for a number of years. They've got proven metrics. They said we could have it, and we imported that into New York State. So we leveraged the money from Schumer and Gillibrand to help us develop a model for a center of excellence. We're piloting it out of the central New York area right now, including Jefferson and Lewis counties. So North Central SBDC is going to pilot this program. And we partnered up with something called Value Builder. Value Builder allows us to provide valuations to small businesses. They're not certified, but they give us a point for having a conversation where we can then work with the owner one-on-one on how do they grow their business and make it more valuable. Valuable businesses retain employees, valuable businesses hire employees, valuable businesses invest in their communities. How do we maintain our business base going forward? And let's just be honest here, the economic landscape is about to take quite the shift. We're not really ready for it. This is a means by which we can do that, starting to provide structured technical assistance. So we are piloting this program in Central New York now for the next year. We have asks on the table from Senators Schumer and Gillibrand for a 3-year funding model that should get us out to the point where we've got some real data that we can then show New York State and others that this is a long-term investable program. And again, we've got a successful model in Michigan, part of this off. And then the last thing, so the other things we kind of spent a lot of time on, educational programming. We have a 3-day business basics course called Fast Track. We offer it every single month except December, because who's going to attend in December? It's 21 hours of education, satisfies SEEP requirements. We offered hybrid. And so it's in person In all of the 8 counties that we serve, we make this available as well as virtual. So people who can't attend in person can also attend as well. And we've tripled our attendance in the last year as a result of the hybrid approach. But it is a signature, and it's an award-winning program. New York SBDC gave us an award for this program last year. We're very proud of it. And we do a bunch of other things throughout the course of the year that are available to folks free. We're trying to get ready for the Micron moment. Let's be honest, Micron's not calling me. And the other thing is the tier 1 suppliers supplying Micron, they also aren't going to call me, and that's fine. I don't need them to call me. It's the tier 3s, the tier 4s, and all the ripple effects. Data that we have tells us that there's really 3 core areas that are going to experience growth as a result of the Micron moment that are going to ripple out probably a 60 to 70 mile radius. Accommodations and food services, professional and scientific services, healthcare and social services. Those are going to be the 3 areas, and we've got data to back that up because we studied where all these other microchip plants went and what was the growth rate in those sectors as a result of that. It wasn't construction jobs. As a matter of fact, construction businesses declined in the 2 areas that we studied just in New York State. So knowing that, we're focusing on the stuff that's going to happen as a result of it, because those other companies aren't going to need what we provide. It's all of those other businesses that we're going to be focusing on to be able to support the infrastructure and ecosystem that's going to keep us busy. We're also working more on Fort Drum, having Joe Peters on board as a former vet, used to be with the Transition Assistance Program there on post. Joe's fantastic, has already been making some inroads out there. We're trying to encourage people to do 2 things. A, look at starting a business here in Jefferson, Lewis County, and B, look to buy one. There's plenty of businesses out there that are available. We just need to find them and help connect viable buyers with those businesses. And the last thing is community engagement. That's opportunities like this. Really telling the story in a way that we haven't in a long time. And I apologize for the fact that we haven't had a chance to come and do this before now. And I'd like to have the opportunity to come back periodically and give you all updates so that you can kind of see what we're doing, what we're up to, and how it's helping. And also, I want to hear some feedback. How are we doing out there? What are we not hitting? What can we be doing better? How can we be reaching out to the people that need the services that we provide? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, questions?
I see on the strategic efforts, you do not have agriculture. Why?
We get them. We do get agriculture businesses, and I do have an ag specialist on my team out of our Syracuse office, Neil Miller. I think you know him well. Has been doing a lot of work in this space, and we do get agriculture businesses. We also don't want to step on toes. Cornell Cooperative does a lot of this work. If they want to send us and co-advise with us on projects, we're absolutely happy to do so. And I'd be happy to have a conversation about how we can be more intentional for support of ag businesses if there's something that we're missing.
Yeah, because I do often, I shouldn't say often, but I do send people to the Small Business Development Center that have interest, and Robin does as well, that have interest in starting agricultural businesses. Not the big dairy farms, but the food operations. They want to start making jams, jellies, whatever, or gelato.
Yep.
And so with agriculture being so big up here, it would seem like it would be a strategic piece of your work.
We tend to be industry agnostic. We will work with anybody. And we do have specialty groups in the New York SBDC to collaborate with. We actually have an ag committee. We actually have a manufacturing committee, and they collaborate and learn about resources and share information all the time. In terms of, as an individual center, developing specific programs around specific industries, I think we've been hesitant to do that at the center level for the simple fact that we're going to see all of those businesses anyway. That said, if there's an opportunity and you'd like to see us more involved in something more intentional and thoughtful, I'd be happy to have that conversation.
Okay.
Anything else? Go ahead.
You mentioned the core group, the
Yeah.
retired executives. Is that the end? That was a great formation years ago.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's their their En-ROAD, you're utilizing that organization under small business regional development now, or they still have their group outside doing stuff?
So the SBA is kind of a funny organization. So they have multiple resource partners. Service Corps of Retired Executives was the first one, created in the 50s. Then they added SBDC in the 80s. Then they added the Women's Business Centers in the late 1990s, early aughts. And then they also added the Veterans Business Outreach Centers. So they actually have 4 resource partners. The SBDC is the largest by far, and it actually just got an increase in federal funding, whereas SCORE has declined in the amount of funding that they're getting from the federal government at the current time. Women's Business Centers and VBOX are flat. Right now, the SBA's thought process is, because we are institutionalized, we're baked into the cake of many of these higher education institutions across the country, let's invest more in the SBDCs. SCORE is still around. You still find a few advisors, but there are pockets of them. So Rochester has a very active SCORE group. Buffalo, downstate still has some. But much of the upstate ecosystem for SCORE, unfortunately, is just not as cohesive as it used to be.
But that resource, that knowledge base, you can access them, you pull them in a lot of times doing your.
We can. But I can also pull in other SBDC advisors from across the state. And we do all the time. As a matter of fact, I've got an international trade specialist on my staff. Other senators are constantly reaching out to her for guidance specifically on that topic. And as you can imagine, international trade at the moment is, there's a lot of complexity to it. So we have a lot of ability to be able to co-advise, and not just within the SBA ecosystem. I'm doing a lot of work with TDO, Train, Develop, Optimize, out of Syracuse, which is their manufacturing expansion partnership, specifically on helping a couple of manufacturing clients navigate some things because they've got expertise we don't have. So we bring in those resources to be able to support the clients in whatever their needs are.
Would tourism, those 3 areas related to Micron that you mentioned, food service, would tourism fall under that category?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So we can move on and
Any more
Paul,
information on Micron from our
we have a motion
consultant?
to adjourn this meeting or any other business?
So,
We have first, second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, abstained? We stand adjourned. We'll move to the next meeting. Get Paul out of here on time.
I'm out of here on time anyhow.
What's that?
I'm out of here anyhow.
No, I know that, but I don't want to hear your damn report. Jeff, we'll call to order our Jefferson County Industrial, thanks, Bob, for coming. Our Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency monthly meeting of April 2nd, 2026. Privilege of the floor, is there any? Barring that, we'll move to the minutes on page 3. Motion to accept if there's.
So
First
Second.
is Dave, and I think that was John. It had to be John because it wasn't Rob. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? The minutes are accepted. Paul, page 7 and 8, the dashboard.
once again, if you look at the key performance indicators for 2026, other than one RLF loan, they're all zeros. You get down to the RLF receivables, those are our 3 defaulted loans that we're constantly looking at from Convault, LCO, and 3 Mile Bay Ventures. That's $1.6 million. There's a new entry called child under miscellaneous receivables, $30. That is a bounce check from sometime in our past, which is that. Over on the revenue side, if you look at 2026, the first 6 entries, we haven't received any revenue in 2026 from any of those. So some of those are ARPA grants, airport grants, but when you look at the application fees that I'm constantly talking, pilot sale leaseback fees, those are our big revenues that we have to try to generate. So that's basically it for the new dashboard review.
Okay,
Once again, I like it a lot.
yeah, very good. Got a motion to accept
Yes.
your report. Thank you. We have a second? Second. Okay, I'm just gonna add something, it could go under new businesses or unfinished as well, if Paul has to leave. So you mentioned 3 defaulted loans, one of them's actually kind of past due, I'm not sure we actually have defaulted on 3 Mile Bay, but whatever, they're past due, so splitting hairs. LCL Destiny, they've missed their due date. 331, Marshall's been instructed to work with council, NCA, they'll get a letter, we can start the foreclosure process, they may pay off the loan before that all happens, but that's life. So we've made a rule, they followed the rule, and that sucks that we couldn't do it in a less aggressive manner. Not more, less aggressive, too many adjectives. And then Convol is negotiating with our council. We haven't gotten an update, just the timing of the holidays and everything, but we put an offer out, we have a due date, which unfortunately, again, was 3/31, I thought. And then we have a payoff date, which there's some discussion, so, I don't know if Justin has anything to offer before Paul leaves, so that there could be a healthy
I
discussion.
just have one question
Go ahead.
on the started foreclosure proceedings. If we incur legal expenses getting,
They're all LCOs.
they're gonna be added to that outstanding.
Yes, we've talked about that.
Okay,
Can I just quickly?
We're not sure that's what we're gonna do.
Justin, having heard what was just said aloud, do you have anything to add about the Convol piece that we should go into executive session? Anything from Dave before yesterday?
As the chair noted, we're working on the final details of the proposed settlement. And as the board's aware, there is an initial payment and then a full true-up payment. We're working on the calendaring of that, given the passage of time, with an eye on getting everything wrapped up before the end of this year. If that is perfected and finalized, we would bring that back to the board for formal endorsement, which would include the settlement agreement. We were hopeful that that would be prepared for today, but they traveled across your board calendar. If there's an exigent need to get that endorsed before the May meeting, we may ask the board for a special meeting or action through the loan committee to endorse that settlement. So I'd say it's as close as it's been, and any other final details are on the amounts and the dates. We can provide that to the loan committee or you or any board members if they need it.
Okay. Any questions that can be discussed in the public? I.e., do we need executive sessions for any of this? Okay. I will add with LCO, we have good advice that the payoff could happen in 1 week, it could happen in 6 weeks, but we set a due date, NCA's board set a due date. We're working with 2 boards that are past due money. We set a date, we have to live with that date. It's unfortunate that it hasn't done. I'm sure the foreclosure process isn't a 1-day event. So hopefully the payoff and everything happens before we have to own a building.
But as of right now, we're gonna proceed forward, so we're gonna, in the next 48 hours, whatever, probably incur legal costs to start.
I mean, that's gonna be up to, so Marshall hasn't actually had a discussion with Justin about what the next steps are. So this is not the first time Justin's heard this, it's not the first time the public's heard this, but 331 was what NCA requested, they're a co-lender. We originally talked about 3-1. We're past both.
we originally talked about a year
Well, I mean,
ago.
this is,
Okay.
regardless of all of that, so we've been very flexible. We've been extremely flexible. We're past the due date. And again, with strong insight and good advice, this could be 1 week or 6 weeks. And this, unfortunately, the payoff keeps extending, the can keeps kicking down the road. And I think we need to take the steps to protect our taxpayers' dollars. And also our council will give us the best advice possible of what needs to happen. So it's unfortunate. Any other questions on those two? We didn't take a vote on the report yet, but I thought it would be best before Paul had to leave in case there was anything. Anything else? All in favor of the treasurer's report? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay, that carries. Anything for alternative energy? Paul?
Yeah, we had a meeting, Marshall and Dorena sat in with me. We had a meeting with Neil Haybig from AES on the Sapphire project. haven't heard anything else from them. He was quite surprised that we didn't extend sales tax abatement, which we have not done for any of the
Apparently our
projects.
procedures haven't been read.
Hmm?
Apparently our written procedures have not been read.
Well, we checked our UTEP and it's has the word may extend. It doesn't have shall extend.
Correct.
So it's,
Any
what
junior
was
lawyer
extended
knows
to
that.
him was consistent with every other solar project.
Yeah.
He did allude to the fact that sales tax is going to be a huge discussion if they come in front of us on these utility scale projects. And other than that,
Maybe the state will give them a further subsidy.
We have not-
County
we have not heard whether they intend to close on the pilot or just pay full taxation. So,
As of the last meeting, we were asked to let them know that the IDA is willing to extend the inducement for AES Black River Sapphire to close through April 1. I think I reached out to them 3 times over the course of March, and they didn't confirm that intention to close. So I'll defer to you as a board as to whether you want to terminate that inducement and ask them to reapply, or how you'd like to proceed.
Was our opinion that they're going to do something quickly and we can discuss this at the next meeting, or just require action?
we didn't really talk about when they intended on closing or not. It went back to, we explained how we came up with our process. We also talked about the state valuation model. I don't think they're keen on the state's valuation model because he tried to explain a different way to look at the valuation of a solar project. So I think they're doing some more due diligence. My gut feeling is they're not going to close.
Okay. Justin, if we were to delay this decision to the meeting, what, if any, ramification would there be to our board and this inducement?
We gave them an April 1 ultimatum. Do you want to, there's a taco joke here somewhere. Do we want to give them a May 1 deadline, or do we just want to consider that application?
If I
My
can,
personal feeling is I think they went back to make a decision and we haven't heard, and that was just like 10 days ago we had this meeting. So I would say if we waited another month,
Okay.
full taxation isn't the end of the world for us. We're never going to get more than that.
Well, they're still
The only
do
issue is
whatever,
our
I
fee.
mean, they still have to pay us whatever they have to pay us for legal fees. and
I mean,
everything.
As I've said numerous times, we gotta have a discussion how long we're letting these things hang out there.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So a question is, does the board have an appetite, and will somebody make a motion to delay this? What is it, delaying the inducement cancellation until May 1? Is that the right phrasing?
Yeah, we totally the termination of the inducement till May 1.
I'd make
We
that
had the
motion.
documents drafted last year. We were ready to close. We just need to change.
You just have to change the year now. May 1, 2025, put 2026 in it.
Yeah, and we traveled over the March 1 tax status date here, so they're actually getting another year and a half in their pilot by virtue of closing in May of 2026
Okay.
as opposed to prior to
And
that. So
they've just
we got
started
better
clearing
time.
and grubbing at this state, you know.
So Paul's made a motion to delay the cancellation of the inducement to May 1.
I'll second that.
John's a second. Any other discussion from the board?
I just wanted to say, if that's okay, really, there has been a lot of back and forth here in the last week between us and AES, and while they aren't pleased with that sales tax piece, and that's fine, I do appreciate giving us until May to continue these discussions.
And you'll advise
Yeah.
AES of this
Absolutely.
real and certain cancellation date.
This
And I
one's
would use the word certain,
real and
not may.
yeah.
This is a shall.
This is not, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. In the UTEP.
Any other discussion?
Just a quick question for potentially the big projects that may or may not be coming. Back to the county's position with sales tax and ours. On a large scale solar project, their supply chains, the way they buy. My question is, what inputs would apply to that collection of sales tax on a large scale solar project. It wouldn't be their racking systems. It wouldn't be any of those
Yes.
supply.
They're already
It's the
exempt from some
racking
of that by
system
statute.
is, Neil said it's the arrays and inverters that are things
It's the
that
power
are
generation
exempt
stuff.
by state law. The racking system, any of the, not labor.
Fencing.
Fencing
whatever.
is not
Because
covered.
everything else is real
Concrete,
property. It's just, that's all taxable.
Let's put it on Sapphire, which is a $10 million project. They estimated $170,000 in sales tax would be collected at the 8%, of which half would be the county's share to be distributed based upon their agreement. So, what's that work out to be? Not a lot of the project is taxable.
He said about 1/3 of the project that worked out. And that was his breakdown.
That's kind of a good question.
So, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay, and you're right at 9, so. that
Thank you
motion
for
carries.
tolerating my schedule.
Well, but we're trying to rush it along so that you can contribute, so thank you. Building and grounds, John.
Didn't have a meeting this month. I think we really have a,
There will be one in
Update.
April.
Okay. Any unfinished business? I think we covered them kind of under under treasurer's report. Any new business? Justin, any business council has to bring forward?
Nothing additional.
Do we have an adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Of course not. We stand adjourned and we can move to I'm doing the hard catch today. The DRC.
So we do have Nancy and Peter here. Nancy being the village mayor of DeFerrier and the town supervisor of the town of Wilna, Peter Crum. Thank you very much for joining us today.
so we'll call the meeting to order. Hey Peter, how are you? Yes, minutes from the January 8th meeting, and that was our annual meeting. If anybody has any questions, would entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't have any committee reports. I think the only unfinished business and the reason for our meeting today. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. You were right on time. I was a little concerned, but thank you. Look forward to an update. Where are we?
So let's get right to it. We are expecting to receive substantial completion documentation from the contracts that we have let out for the cleanup project there. So you guys that have, that are going by there and looking at it, what you see right now is pretty much what it's going to look like at the end of the demolition contract. So that is the result of about, I think it was like 11.8 and ended up being closer to $12 million of cleanup at that site. So it's not exactly a community park, but that is the result of the demo contracts. So Friday, tomorrow, we have a walkthrough with Dank before we sign off on the substantial completion documents. So we're going to go through in person and make sure that things have met our expectations. And then right after that, we have a walkthrough regarding fencing and what we're going to do there. So
That would be my question. What's going on with the fencing?
yes, yeah. So it's unrealistic that the entire 200-acre site is going to be secured and fenced. What we're leaning towards in initial discussions, and whoever, Mayor, if you want to join us Friday, you're more than welcome.
What time is it?
check my calendar here. It is 2:30 at the site
Okay.
on Friday.
2:30.
Yeah, so anybody, that's on the redevelopment committee, join us. Realistically, what I think we're looking to do is fence in the area that really is the main rubble, and we did a couple change orders so that there shouldn't be huge pits. I mean, we paid extra money to level things
Here's how
out
that
to
came
a
out, yeah.
certain extent. However, it's still gonna be hazardous to walk around over there. I mean, it's a brickyard basically. So I think the goal realistically should be to try to fence in the area that is a little bit dangerous, but to fence in the entire site is unlikely. I mean, unless
Over near
we're
the,
gonna really spend some money.
coming off 3A, the roadway that goes back into the old waste plant.
Yep.
That's still wide open.
And we haven't done, I mean, other than taking down that bridge, there wasn't a lot of demo on that other side of the river, a little bit, but not a lot, I don't think. So that's, and the river is a hazard and the canal's a hazard everywhere. I mean, to fence off the whole thing is probably not realistic. But then again, these are just preliminary discussions. I think we can get into it on Friday. But barring some minor things here or there, we're at about substantial completion. We've spent our contract there for the site. I did talk to Marshall last Monday. We had lunch and talked about redevelopment. So kind of turning the corner on from cleanup to redevelopment on that. And I'd like to get a little more involved with some of the BOA stuff. And I don't know if Sarah's with us this morning, but I know Sarah's been working on the BOA.
I met with her the other day.
Okay, great. So where's that process?
Well, actually, because it's the first meeting I had with her, and so we were actually, we started out with, we're doing a grant to take care of the tennis court and basketball.
Okay.
So that's how it started.
Yeah.
And then it went into BOA.
Okay,
So I have never been to a BOA meeting, and so I wasn't really up. So she was talking about, she was really happy that now we're going to get back into it and come to meetings. So
Yeah.
so that they are very much involved now. They want to be,
yeah.
I guess, because the former mayor didn't want to get involved. But, yeah.
So we got to turn our mindset. I mean, after Friday and we close some things out here, we need to turn our mindset to redevelopment. The cleanup part is mostly done. I mean, it's not a sandy beach or a beautiful lawn for frisbees, but it's an industrial site that is cleaned up enough that it could host new development, and that kind of might need to be our focus.
She did mention that they were talking about clamping, and they were talking about.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned in the BOA presentation that we saw, but more to be discussed, I think, on all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's important to have community input in all of this. But in my mind, just my personal opinion, that's an industrial site that probably will stay an industrial site. The idea of to bring that from where it is to a nice riverside park or asset or campground for the community, you might as well break off another, $7-8 million because there needs to be a lot more cleanup. So, but we'll get into it. Friday, and then that leads to the question that the mayor and I discussed last time we had this meeting, which is the turnover of the property. I don't know, I think Marshall and the team were going to look into insurances and all that. The taxation, we're going to look into that, but whether it stays with the county or whether it goes to the redevelopment corporation, it will remain off the tax rolls. So, that will be we've already missed the deadline for 26. So you got one more year, but 27, it is going to be tax exempt. So that'll be something the village board and town will have to, contend with, that parcel is going to come off. But unless somebody privately buys it, you've got something, but that seems unlikely to me, so.
One thing, if I could just kind of hop in there, when we're talking about community engagement and really sort of steering this project forward on this next phase of it. The Carthage Industrial Development Corporation, the CIDC, of which I'm on the board, and Supervisor Crump is also on the board. They have expressed, along with Sarah Bullock, who's outstanding person that I work with on a number of things. They really would like to be more involved in this process. Sarah had brought up possibly the CIDC, and again, I'm on that board as well. Sort of taking over the DRC, which of course I'm pretty hesitant on, but that does show how invested they are in getting this forward. I'm a little bit surprised that Sarah isn't with us today, so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. One way or the other, I think this board, this organization, the DRC itself, will grow based on having their input on moving this thing forward. And it does make a lot of sense to have certainly as much input as we can, from the town of Wilna, as well as local residents, obviously. I'm excited about the future for that, especially with the sort of growing community interest in what we're doing there. So that's always a positive thing.
For those areas that are just an observation that you can't fence off, cost prohibitive, are there options for no trespassing, just to deter and relieve some liability exposure?
Yeah, probably. That would probably be a good idea.
Something I would suggest. Not that it's gonna necessarily stop, but it'll make people, it'll deter a lot of it. Just having it posted.
Yeah, really, some of those the ledges being the most interesting, and then of course the intake on the Brookfield Dam is just something that it's a little bit frightening to look at, and it's one of those things where again that canal I would never characterize as safe, but that input on that on the Brookfield generators is a little sketchy. So
I think it helped you with your liability down the road.
Yeah. So I mean, the only thing probably that's going to hold up transferring the property is liability. So the counties, we pay probably $1 million premium a year for all of our properties and everything. So we're well covered, but the DRC is going to have to get something in place,
Right.
and we need a budget estimate, because I do think Bill and the legislature to put some seed money into the DRC, but we got to know a little bit of what the budget is.
More to come on that.
Yeah.
More discussions. Anything else?
Any more ideas on the post office lot?
No, other than if the village, I guess we did discuss breaking that off separately and auctioning it, or if the village wants to keep it as a green space, like a park or something, then I would
I
have.
think we might have heard last year that there was somebody maybe interested in it.
Well, the people that live right next door to it,
I think that was it. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. She happens to be the village clerk, so, yeah, so we could ask, yeah.
Well, we're in tricky territory.
Yeah.
My knowledge of how this stuff works has been set back by the Supreme Court, because we can't just deem a property for public purpose and give it to the village anymore because of the in-rem foreclosure and all that. So I'm not sure how we would do that, but I'm sure there's a mechanism that our county attorney can.
It's just gonna have to be mowing and upkeep on it and everything.
Yeah.
Because now that it's the way it is, we wouldn't want to just let it grow up the weeds.
Yeah, well, I can give you my opinion. The county spent millions. We would be appreciative if the village could mow it every week.
That was the first thing that came up, actually. Getting it
I
mowed.
can see that. We can take care of that.
Very good. Anything else?
Any further comments or anything, Nancy?
So I know it has been suggested that it could be a site for a power plant. a nuclear power plant. So and I wasn't gonna say anything after the first meeting in January because I thought, I didn't want to get everybody up in the arms about it. So, but I did find, one of my officers came to me and said he had heard about it. So I thought, okay, it's time. So I did some talking points at the last meeting and just, so everybody's aware that it could happen. And so I didn't give out hard copies of it, but I just, I had probably about 15 talking points about where we could go with this. And, the problem, I think it wouldn't have to be right in the front, I wouldn't say, because I had a map of I have an old picture of the mill from way back when. And I found it upstairs, rummaging through other junk. And I was almost gonna bring that today because there's a lot of property, when you say 200.
200 acres.
Great.
Yeah, it could go way back, it wouldn't have to be front center for everybody to drive by and look at. So, yeah, it's a possibility. And I mean, probably one of the most expensive villages to live in because we don't have any income. And because of our water sewer, we took care of that a couple of years ago. And so we're more than a couple of years now. So it would make a huge thing for our residents, but trying to sell that would be the next thing. I see Dunkirk is going for one. I almost called the Dunkirk mayor just to talk, and then I found out she was just elected in December, so I thought she probably not really on board with everything. But, it's a possibility out there.
Just to add on to that, I've done some research on this, and Westinghouse Corporation builds a 15 megawatt nuclear modular generator that's plug and play. They will build it, deliver it, set it up, and have it producing power in 30 days.
Wow.
And they can be added on to, they can be packaged together when they come. That was a pretty impressive read that I made on the Westinghouse expectations into this. It'd be a phenomenal site. You've got the water access there, which at the last meeting that Marshall and I were there, a lot of the people that were in that meeting didn't even realize that Palm Beach existed over in the woods on the upper end on the 110 acres that storage Munns Corners. There's a phenomenal freshwater supply up there, which is back off the roads. Everything would be back. It'd definitely be, and this Westinghouse turbine has been designed to kind of coincide with a housing development. And the electricity produced goes into grid, of course, but the heat coming off the reactor heats the housing complexes that are put up. It was very impressive the way that it was designed, and the fact that it was a modular plug and play unit that actually could be moved from location to location caught my eye looking at that. And what I really thought was, right now with the state of New York, they like to dabble their fingers in it. On a 15 megawatt generator, I think it's a small enough project that it might possibly fly under the state's radar a little bit and be easier to get funding for. And being it's a modular setup, that once you got it set in there, then you can add to it. It might not draw a lot of attention from the state until they realize what's happened.
I think we're probably going to find that there's a lot of support from the state, actually.
Do you think so,
I
sir?
totally think so.
See, I just, the pushback that we're getting on the solar project up there in town of Krogan in there, what we're dealing with there, just, I don't know, I don't got a warm fuzzy feel for their involvement on that whole thing.
Moving in the direction of these small modular reactors.
Well, that would be good then.
So the key point there, expecting an award for the permitting for the NIPA thing, potentially second quarter, maybe third quarter. It's a little up in the air. But from an infrastructure standpoint, National Grid has easements in place already for transmission out of the plant.
Yes.
A couple years ago, 2 years ago, I think it was, when Dave and I were down at the property, we were stunned to see that they had removed the transmission line on the other side of the canal there. But, because at that point, it was very aging infrastructure. I'm not surprised National Grid did that. But those easements stay in place. And if you're going to put an SMR there, it's all going to be new transmission anyway.
Absolutely.
So it just, from an infrastructure standpoint, that makes a lot of sense there. And especially that 200 acres in the back on the other side of the canal.
The connection to the Montreal rail siding that's still in place is a phenomenal asset for anything like that, because all of your material can come in via rail.
Yep.
You're not talking any trucking, no damage to your roads with the heavy infrastructure coming in. Probably 80% of your material could come in via rail.
Yeah. And these SMR, like the awards may be attached to a project, which means that not only would you have the SMR, but you may have a project right next to it to use a portion of the power, which again, from a tax perspective, would be a real wonderful thing for that community. We'll see.
Something I was going to recommend to the IDA from a conversation I had with Scott Gray at the Ag Conference was Scott Gray is on a very powerful committee.
Yeah.
And it's the Energy Power Committee. And I was expressing to him my frustration with trying to get a big picture view of what's going on with New York State and National Grid. And he said he'd come in and address the group, and because he knows he's got a lot of knowledge behind the scenes of what is not public. I think he's willing to share it as it relates to maybe a potential project there. I think he could shed a lot of light and give some good advice.
Absolutely.
One other thing to consider, some of your research that you've done, there's a lot of smaller startup companies that are looking to pull up a generator. You have land, you have needs. You can champion power to figure power, so you can have what's called combined heating and power. So somebody may actually want to put a facility there that you don't have to pay a red cent for, whether it be state funded or startup funded, because they want to get a generator, say, I've got something in service. And your community could benefit from that, not just the power, but the steam. I mean, Boonville Electric is, everybody in Boonville heats with electricity, which is stupid sounding for this cold climate we live in, but it's almost free power. And you could have something similar to that, and it's all because of the mills and everything down in Lions Falls and Boonville area. You've got the same legacy. So, I mean, those types of things are, you've got a big plot of land. I mean, sometimes the tracking through Scott's contacts or whatever, there's tons of startups. I saw him host one not too long ago. I actually knew one of the people in the startup company, but like, there are a lot of companies. There's universities in the area that host some of these startups. So that don't sell yourself short with always just going after the state. They're a slow but somewhat dependable. The people that are trying to actually get the systems in place are the people that own the companies that are running the companies, in smaller companies in Westinghouse.
And possibly you might be able to shed some light on this question that I have. Okay, Fort Drum has already expressed their interest. They are definitely looking at micronuclear. With the close proximity to this site to the Fort Drum military installation, what would be the chances of possibly partnering with the federal government?
Certainly.
And being able to cut some of the red tape, being that the federal government can come in and deem a lot of things when you're supplying electricity to a military base that might not be able to be done on the.
Good thought.
That's, I mean, it's a hop, skip, and a jump.
If
You know,
the
we
security is
board-
there where they can always be guaranteed energy,
Yes,
I suppose that's the whole thing, is
Yes.
because their gate, their fence ends, and then it becomes state or county or local government. Federal's a whole different ball of wax, and on a
That's true.
military basis, a different ball of wax as well,
but
as
they
long as the
also have
security is
income
there.
programs where they extend the boundaries of their fence to where they go into a buffer zone, a protected buffer zone.
Mhm.
Right.
still, you know, I look at the heating aspect of it to induce some housing,
Yes,
which, I mean, for people to buy or invest, knowing that there's energy costs, whether it's, home heating or electric. I look at the village of Theresa with their own independent power still. They're 3 and 4 cents a kilowatt for power for your Theresa resident.
Right.
What that does for inducement. my
oh,
God.
absolutely.
And even coming to preservation, the people tilt in these preservation groups, their projects they like is let's take a look at this parcel of land. What can be developed? Keep that for development, and then beside it, we do the preservation, the two together. So with like energy and housing development, depending on what fits, for market. It's a great, that's sustainability. That's true utilization of all the resources.
But that lot is so big, Ed, that I know I just helped Tom Henderson rewrite our comp plan, and the county's got some different ideas on mixed use zoning where you could literally have a power plant like manufacturing and housing. And you wouldn't know any of the others exist the way it gets laid out. You have 200 acres, you've got, so there are just a lot of good opportunities that there's good resources. You just have to find the best thing to build above ground on that nice piece of land.
There'd
That's
be a
well
housing
connected by state
development right
roads
there
and-
on 3A right now. If the state wouldn't have got involved, because I bought that piece of ground at the auction when they auctioned the mill off. I bought the 110 acres from the road to Munn's Corners back to Fort Drum. And 6 o'clock the next morning, the state stepped in and wanted to pull that back because they wanted to try and keep everything intact on the ground to possibly sell it as an industrial site to someone. So that got pulled back. But that was my entire intentions with that piece of ground, was to have a housing development on the 110 acres going up, just for the simple fact that the village of DeFerriet's water system, the village of DeFerriet's sewer system could sustain that with the mill not being there any longer. The infrastructure for that end of it was very close proximity and was very fast. So I would think housing in that area, and that just coming from a personal aspect on me, that's the one piece of your site. That upper 110 acres is where you're going to run into very, very minimal contamination, because there was nothing there. That was just our rail sidings. That was our scale tracks. That was the transit in and out. It was not a wood holding yard. There were no conveyors over there. There was nothing that could have contributed to contaminations in the soil or anything. So to be a prime portion of that location for possible housing.
So as part of that, I don't know where the county's, just an outside question. Because of the value of that still active rail siding, does that not spawn opportunities? We have very limited. We don't have one or two rails.
The rail siding is not, it's it's not active, I guess, and a lot of it has been pulled up.
Yes.
So that leads into the thing.
So
I don't
it's not
know.
an active.
It's not an active.
No,
one.
but the right of way
The
is
right of
still
ways
there.
are there, and again, depending on the project.
And I'm not, Marshall, have you walked the track from County Route
I haven't
37 to the
Not
Fort
all the
Drum?
way, no.
Okay, I will make a point to do that this week, because I haven't been out there, just to see if that rail is still intact down to
Yeah, I know
County
it's,
Route
that first
37.
quarter mile has been pulled up at least, I know that.
Do you know if the switch is still?
Yeah, that was the next, that was.
No, all the switches for that rail were inside the fence of the mill, and they're gone.
Okay.
Everything that we switched, it was one rail, and you didn't come into a split rail until 150 yards from the Montreal line. Then we had a split rail there that had a series of 5 switches that we used to turn the engine around. Once every 30 days, I had to go out and.
But all of those are gone.
I'm not sure. I haven't walked to the Fort Drum line in, well, it's been 35 years. So I would have to go down and actually take a stroll.
Take your four-wheeler.
Yeah. No, I used to walk that whole thing. We had to walk that whole thing.
What's
to
it,
make sure.
is it a half mile, mile?
Oh, no, probably a good 2.25, 2.5 miles. It was 3 6-packs of beer for 6 guys every day when we left the mill. That was,
How you judge distance
yeah,
on those?
6 guys.
I know exactly how long it is
Yep,
now.
3 6-packs of beer, and on the way back into the mill, the youngest man on the crew had to get off and bury the cans. That was just the rule of thumb with the railroad crew.
Well, with that, on that note, thank you for the history. And thank you for coming. It's actually
I'm
been a
very
productive meeting.
passionate about that site. I
I'm
had
sure.
20-some years of my life involved in that mill, and when that mill went down, it was just a catastrophe
Sure.
to the North Country. Not just for the jobs at that mill, but for the amount of revenue that was generated in the outlying communities, our suppliers, every farmer in this area, come the slow time in the winter, when you couldn't do nothing but milk cows, had a small wood lot with popple on it, and they'd cut popple and bring into our mill at $50 a cord, a couple cords a day, just enough to, there was such vastness there that people didn't realize the amount of revenue
Sure.
that spread out of that place.
Sure.
And that popple now, you know, it's
garbage
managed.
wood. It's weeds.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. And
That was about the last thing, and
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
I will not be able to be there tomorrow, heading out of town, but is it okay for someone, another representative to go?
Sure, of course.
Everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay, sure. So 2:30 tomorrow?
2:30.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay. Make sure, somebody will be there.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again. Guess we move on to new business. It sounds like we've talked about a lot of potential
Yeah,
new business, but
I'm
which is
sorry,
good.
I didn't mean to get
No,
it.
no, please. Thank you very much. This is great. This is more input than we've had so far in this whole venture, and I think it's wonderful. And it's wonderful to have both communities involved here and working together with the county and with the IDA. So I think this is exciting, quite frankly.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Hearing nothing else, is there a motion?
I have,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
we have D&O insurance as of February for the Deferiot.
Oh,
Yeah, that was one of the pieces
thank you,
we
Doreen.
talked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doreen, for that.
What insurance?
Directors and officers.
Okay.
thank you. Appreciate the
Does that
update.
come through the IDA? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Hearing nothing else, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.